Hey guys, this is Breach. Welcome back to Let's Play Mother 1. Last time we talked to the mayor and he told us to go rescue Pippie, the lost child in the cemetery. So that is what we're doing. We are down south of town and we're going to go into this very creepy yet, because of the NES palette layout, brightly lit cemetery. Now, once you get into the trees here, you run into gang zombies, zombies, and Mr. Baddies. Now, the gang zombies are probably the strongest of them. They have the highest HP, and they'll do the most damage to you. So you did 8 damage to us there, which is proportionately a lot for what our HP is at this point. Even later on, really, that's a lot of damage. So, one of the things you really need to pay attention through here is PP management. As funny as that sounds. You need to manage your resources, which is very important. Each life up is gonna cost 3 PP, and it's gonna do roughly 25 to 30 restoration on you. Now, the Mr. Baddies here will often get confused mid-battle. We're gonna level up here before too long, so we will be able to one-shot them, and it won't be near as bad as this. But they'll have an attack called thinking about the circumstances, and then they'll lose their minds and basically attack themselves, which is comical. That's really the only thing that can be said for the way that this game handles a lot of the combat. Is there'll be ways it knows it's unbalanced, I'll put it like that. And there will be times whenever the enemies they're slowly approaching. They'll waste a turn slowly approaching you, or thinking about the circumstances to confuse themselves. So the early game does have a bit more balance because of that. It's not balanced, but it has a bit more balance. I mean, you have to grind up to level 6 to take on this first quest. You could probably do it at 5. 6 is comfortable, having enough psi resource to heal yourself the whole way through. And at the end of it, whenever we finally rescue Pippie, we have to get her back alive. She becomes a party member, a temporary party member, and we have to get her back alive. And she is a level 1 little girl that got lost in the cemetery, so you can imagine how challenging that can be. So they're 30 HP. I think about using another life up spell. I don't. But here is another... You get thrown into the mature themes really quickly. Like, there's a guy here in the graveyard who... I'd like to stop the zombies' evil ways, but they do not listen to me or won't even talk to me. Now I'm too scared to leave this place. It's an adult in the church where a child is missing who is too terrified to get out and do anything to save this little girl, because the zombies won't listen to him. I mean, oh, you can also run into ghosts here. They don't have a lot of HP, don't do a lot of damage, and they certainly really aren't worth the fight based on how much experience they give you. So if you want to run from them, you can. I'm not too big of a fan of running from battles outside of like Pokemon, where they were all over the place and there was no purpose to fighting them. But here, I mean, any experience helps us out. It's not like we have, infinite rare candies to go use later. There will be enemies later in the game that, just run from. That's really your only option. And you'll learn a spell that'll make running a lot simpler and easier. So what are some of the games that you guys enjoy? That's really the question and discussion for the day. Some of the ones that you enjoy that have more mature themes, but really are appropriate for all audiences. Like these, for as heavy as the themes are that they deal with, there's something that anyone in the human condition can relate to, which I think is the big part of their popularity. And I know that even though I try and be a well-rounded gamer and know and play as much as possible, that there's just stuff out there that I will never hear about or don't think about. So what are some of the ones that you guys are fans of that deal with issues like this? I know the Persona series has a huge following. I've never been able to get into it, but I know it's one of those like that is just a very, very in-depth and mature RPG for what it is. And I think I'm recording this commentary off of having Saigon Cat as a guest on our Gamer Bros radio show last night. And just talking RPGs with him, it made me think about RPGs as a concept and the kinds of people that play them. And they feel like a very introspective game. Like, you don't pick up a Call of Duty and run through all the missions on that and go kill a bunch of people on multiplayer and think, what does this say about me? What does this say about the human condition? What does this say about the world? Whereas in RPG, you spend time developing these characters, you become attached to these characters, their stories. You spend as much time reading as anything else, and the grinding really leaves a lot of room for thought. Like, what do the main themes of what this story is trying to say, how does that affect me and what I do? As far as this game, definitely the perception, the point of view that the story is told from, is one of the big aspects that makes me think, how do I view the world around me? And how would I react in scenarios? Like, if the zombies were outside going out of control, would I just board myself up in my house and say, you know what, kids lost, sucks to suck? You get down here, the crypt that's open, the holes in the ground aren't very obvious, but you go down that hole, all the way at the end here, under the last coffin is Pippie. If you talk to any of the other coffins, you'll fight a zombie. So, you deny being brave, tell her that she's great, and she'll give you a shiny badge that will guard you. The Franklin badge, which works a lot differently than it did in Earthbound. In Earthbound, the Franklin badge protected you from thunder attacks. It would bounce back thunder attacks on enemies. In this, it'll only bounce back PK Beam Gamma, which is an instant death attack from the enemy. Like, it's gonna kill you. And it'll protect you from that. And I think there's only the one in this game. There might be two. I can't remember if I'm thinking of Earthbound or this. As far as Pippie, though, she joins you as a temporary party member, which is problematic because she's level 1. So what you're going to want to do is treat it like you were before. Have Breach or Ninten attack everyone, and have Pippie guard each round. She's going to get just amazing stat growth after she levels up too, to trick you into using her. You can't keep her, so don't worry about any kind of development on her. Just keep her alive. It's really your only task, is keep Pippie alive. Because if she dies, GG. You get to go back. So always have Pippie guard. You only have to get her out of the cemetery and back to the mayor. You can take her back to her mom. Her mom will say, shouldn't you go notify the mayor and let him know? And then Pippie goes with you to the mayor. So you have to go there. But look at the stat growth there. Like, Ninten gets a very balanced stat growth across everything. Pippie just gets super fast and super hard hitting. Like, here shortly, she's going to have a higher max HP than Ninten, who we've been developing this whole time, which is really funny. You're getting outclassed by a little girl already. Granted, you have psychic powers, whereas she does not. So there's that trade-off. Not much more to go into depth here, walkthrough-wise. We're going to be fighting, the same enemies that we fought on the way in, and just going in, or going out the exact same way we went in. The only difference is we have Pippie tagging along now. So, I guess this would be a good moment to talk about my experiences with the Earthbound series and NES RPGs. Like I said, I hadn't really played this game until E3 of this year, whenever it came out on the Wii U, on the Virtual Shop. Picked it up because I had played it, not for serious, but I'd played it before. When I was in high school, I had a friend tell me I had to play some games. He knew I was into RPGs, very nerdy dude. And so he gave me a disc with an emulator and a couple of ROMs on it. And one of them was Mother 1, Earthbound Beginnings, Earthbound 0. And, there were two games on there. There was Earthbound and Earthbound for the NES and Earthbound for the Super Nintendo. I'd heard of the Super Nintendo version. Didn't really play it. Ended up throwing away the disc just because I'm like, this is wrong. I don't need to be doing this. But I did touch Earthbound on the NES, and I'm like, well, you're fighting hippies, you're fighting lamps. This is interesting. Reminds me a lot of Dragon Warrior, which, I played as a kid with my dad. Played that in Final Fantasy with him. And so, yeah, I gave it a shot and got bored quickly, had other things to do. Started playing, actual Dragon Warrior because, whenever a game reminds you of something that you really enjoy, or whenever I'm reminded of something I really enjoy, I don't always take time to appreciate what it is in my hands. Instead, sometimes I go back to that thing that I know I enjoy. It's like, oh, why am I playing this when I could be playing Dragon Warrior? So I hooked up the NES and played through Dragon Warrior 1 and 2 again. And, didn't touch this again. But then, I had bought Earthbound on the Wii U shop and knew about the whole issues with the games, because, this was much later in life. I'd done more research about it, and, you're not an RPG fan and unaware of a lot of stuff like this. And then you see that that's coming out. I was one of the people who got really excited. Anytime something that hadn't previously been in the United States gets brought over, I get excited about it, because there's a lot of great games that just get left over in Japan that we never get to touch. The Fire Emblem series is a great example. Those were all released over in Japan on the Famicom, Super Famicom, and the first one we got was on the Game Boy Advance. They're a hell of a series. Turn-based strategy games with role-playing elements fused in. I had played, before I played those, I'd played Warcraft and picked up the GBA Fire Emblem because, turn-based strategy. It's a lot better for me than real-time strategy, which I'm not great at. But then, your characters that you have, if they die, they're gone. And the story gets affected by it. Which is why I'm going to do Fire Emblem at some point on this channel. The Game Boy Advance version. Because it's the one I've played. I haven't played the NES ones. Now, we're almost out of the graveyard. And naturally I hit wrong buttons all over the place. And, the running, like I said, it can be convenient, but you also run into stuff. I'm sorry. I'm too laid back for my own good right now. But you bump into stuff, and it's very easy to get your movement blocked. It's not near as fluid as, future iterations, but, 8-directional movement in an NES game for an RPG is pretty friggin' astounding, if you ask me. Especially for a game made in the 80s, not towards the end of the NES's life cycle at all. Like, right after Dragon Warrior 2 and Final Fantasy was when this was done, and those were all 4-directional movements. They probably could have managed to do 8-directional, but they didn't. This was really one of the first ones that did that well, which is another revolutionary aspect of this, just from the technical standpoint. Like, aside from the gameplay and the themes within the game, from a technical standpoint, this game and this series is just groundbreaking. And it's a real shame that, Earthbound 64 didn't happen. We haven't seen any news of like a Mother 4, Mother 3 may or may not come to the West. Like, you saw the Robot Chicken Nintendo Direct E3, where the fan asks for, "Give us Mother 3!" And then Reggie's like, and then eats a fireball and burns the guy alive. Which, with Nintendo being labeled the kiddie console, really fits the Earthbound games have adult themes. You'll also notice, as opposed to my last couple Let's Play series, there's no cuts in this video. And that's because I finally figured out how to make everything cooperative with more than just like 7 to 8 minute chunks, which I'm really excited about. You guys may not notice or care. Oh, excuse me. But it's something that I'm excited about, to be able to bring you longer episodes when they need to be without having to make them all obtrusive and stuff. But we get back, we take Pippie to the mayor. And he gives us our second quest. Sister girl Pippie, well, I knew that you could fulfill your civic duty. Applause, applause. Now, pretty Pippie, don't forget to tell your mom that the mayor saved you. Okay. Let's take a picture here of me, the mayor, with Pippie. By the way, hero, would you like to go see what's up at the zoo? We get our second quest there to go figure out what's going on at the zoo. So we gotta make sure we get a key from Abbott here. If you don't, you're gonna make a wasted trip. Gives you a key, tells you not to lose it. Which, funny story, we don't have to worry about it in here, but if you do lose it, he just gives you another key. So